So let's continue to be aware of God's loving presence. As we listen to our first sharing for the night, let's hear from Sister Steph Sayson.
Hello, hi everyone. Good evening. So, thank you for this opportunity that I can be able to share my testimony with all of you this evening. So, I'm sure that if you've been with us like the past 3 days with Reset and hearing all these testimonies, everyone's been talking about how the pandemic has really impacted their lives. And it's almost 2 years since the pandemic started, and it feels very. 'Di ba, parang nakakapagod. Like, it feels very tiring to just keep on hearing like, oh, the pandemic did this, oh, it's the challenging times and all that. But we can't discount the fact that it's really still in our lives. Like, it's really an equalizer. It brings us this shared experience that even if it's 2022, you know how they joke, it's 2022. So 2020 pa rin na feeling. So back when the pandemic started in 2020, for me, that felt so freeing. Less commute time, so you have more time at home, more time to sleep. You can just roll off bed and attend meetings since you're already work from home. So that allowed me a lot of opportunities to add more activities, add more responsibilities on my plate. And that was so exciting for me. Like, the first few months of the pandemic was really a great opportunity for me to have longer periods of time, quiet time with God, to retreat on my own, isolate myself in my room. And it was really great at first, but you know how it sometimes feels like each day is the same. That joy within me sometimes felt kind of dwindling, that I sometimes think, God, why does it seem like I don't have anything to look forward to tomorrow? Every day feels kind of the same. And I just really felt totally overwhelmed. For those who don't know, I actually work in a seminary, in a Bible school, and I'm also taking my master's there. And on top of serving in ministry, leading life group, journey group, and also personal ministry outside that, it kind of felt so overwhelming that everything I did was so Bible related, everything about God. Like, it was great that I was saturating myself with God, but everything was just too much. That's how I felt. And because of that, I went to a total opposite, polar opposite extreme, that I felt so unmotivated. I didn't even want to pick up my Bible. There were times that I would even place my Bible right beside me in bed to just convince myself to open the Bible. But some days I would really just feel guilty and not want to read my Bible even more. So, how did God see me through this period? That was actually more than one time during this pandemic period. There were a lot of highs and lows during this time. And what really got me through was God. I wouldn't say it's by my own merits or strengths, but it was really Him. I was thankful that I had journey group material that would remind us, like, if you're familiar with it, we would have the Lord's Prayer as our model for prayer. So, verse 11, Matthew 6:11 would say, God, give us our daily bread. So, it's just always a reminder that, God, when I pray to you, I'm just asking something that's enough for today. And He gives me just enough for today. So rather than feeling so overwhelmed that I had to do so much activities, to do this, do that, I was being reminded by God to take one day at a time. And if you see our key verse for the day, it's actually Isaiah 40:31. And I really like it. It says, but they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Me, before being so overwhelmed, when I read this, like if you do Lectio Divina with this, right? I'm like, oh, they shall run and not be weary. But God, I don't want to run. It sounds so totally tiring. But this verse actually, right now, in this season of my life, it's really reminding me that, hey, God is present and He provides. But Steph, do you receive? Do you let Him work? Do you let Him renew your strength? How am I waiting on Him? So why did I really feel overwhelmed? Like, God invited me to take a step back. I worried too much about tomorrow. And I realized that, He just provides me with enough light for the next step in my path. And that's what faith is. It's an ongoing decision. It's an ongoing journey with God. But I just totally wanted to rely on my own strength, running at my own pace, my own timeline. And this was really an opportunity to just go back to the basics of starting my day, talking to God and listening to God, and maybe just reading one verse at a time rather than feeling overwhelmed, rather than my usual like 1 hour quiet time. And then I'd also read another devotional book. Then I'd attend another like event or webinar, free webinar, since there were so many free webinars. I just really cut back and went back to the basics, went back to reading my Bible, one verse at a time, reconnecting with God. And that just reminds me that it's really a spiritual discipline and it's not motivation, because motivation, that's so erratic. You can't always rely on motivation. In Psalm 1, 1 to 2, right? It says that blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. And that delight came about because he meditated on it day and night. So that was how I was trying to get back with my like recommitting with God. That little by little, meditating and meditating, and that delight soon came about again. That spiritual discipline really paid off. And it's really just that reminder, it's heart over activity. So that's generally how God is continuously seeing me through. Like the pandemic isn't over yet. And it's really just a reminder to prioritize my personal intimacy with Him rather than activity. So I remember in a past reset, they shared this passage, Hebrews 10, verses 24 to 25. Let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near. So this passage just reminds us how important community is. Like honestly, without like God and without community, like as I mentioned, that journey group kept me going, even if I wanted to just hide and not open my Bible again because I was just tired and feeling very hopeless. Like I remember Ecclesiastes, right? We were studying that, like everything felt meaningless. But it's just a reminder to not just recommit to our personal intimacy with God, but also in terms of recommitting to reaching out to people. Like it's a reminder not to be complacent, be intentional to reach out to people, because even the people you think are so held up together and are doing well might already be struggling. So that's it for my testimony. I hope that you were able to resonate with this and be able to just reflect on how your personal intimacy with God has been like right now. Like just allow His Spirit to enable you and equip you to live for Him, to have that missional and loving life like His.
I have been attending CBCP for more than 5 years now. And when I first joined the church, I was so excited to attend the service. And I even joined a small groups and also participated in several ministries. I started out so eager to get to know Christ deeper, but along the way, my focus shifted from getting to know Him to getting to know other people, basically socializing and gaining new experiences. Like the parable of the sower, I was the seed that fell among rocks, and when the sun appeared, I withered. Despite attending Sunday service and small groups and also my other ministries and having brothers and sisters to guide me, I still had a shallow relationship with God and did not walk with Him day by day. I continued living life as I used to, as a Christian in church and being my old self outside church. Eventually, there came a time when I started attending church less and less, and then the pandemic hit, and I even had more reason to distance myself since attending Sunday service was no longer required. I came to a point where I felt self-sufficient because I was so busy working all the time and things were going well in my business. Life was good, or so I thought. I grew more distant with God and rarely listened to the Sunday service and even forgot to pray on Sundays. The turning point was when I felt like I was in a good place. Sales started to dwindle in my business, and I started worrying a lot and felt so afraid. At that point, I finally admitted that I have made money my master. It's true that you really cannot serve two masters. It's either God or money. And seeking peace from my troubled heart, I was so tired from constantly worrying. I finally started reading the Bible again to seek comfort. Imagine, more than 5 years I've been an active member in the church, but it was only on 2021, in the midst of the pandemic, that I started having a genuine relationship with God. Through my daily quiet time and prayer, I realized that my biggest mistake before was I relied too much on other people to learn about God instead of finding the answers and getting to know Him through His Word. So I had a lot of questions about Jesus, and He revealed to me the answers one by one through the book of John and Matthew. Eventually, the Lord prompted me to join a small group again, or a life group. Being so used to my comfort zone, or isolation rather, I kept on telling Him, Lord, I'm not ready yet. But He kept on instructing me the same thing over and over for 2 weeks until He finally gave me enough courage to push through with joining again. Today, I'm still a work in progress, definitely, but I look forward to spending time with Him each day. I thank God for His patience, His compassion, and His unconditional love. Even when I got lost again and again, He never gave up on me. Now, I still have a tendency to fall back to my old self, but I know that the Holy Spirit is ready to guide me and redirect my mind and heart. Also, by God's grace, I started trusting Him more in all aspects of my life and was finally able to experience His peace. So with that, I encourage you all to entrust your life to God. Walk with Him day by day and believe in the power of prayer.